This is Fox Wilmington's special coverage of Hurricane Irene.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Evans. We continue our coverage tonight on Hurricane Irene as she makes her way toward the eastern coast of North Carolina. My co-anchor Michelle Lee standing by at the New Hanover County Government Complex with more on the emergency management response and evacuations. We'll go to Michelle in just a moment, but first let's get the very latest on the storm. Going over to First Alert meteorologist Rob Ellis. Rob, the most latest coordinates now about 90 minutes old, but we're starting to see through the radar what's actually happening here.
Yeah, there's a lot really going on. Let's go ahead and take those graphics full and show you exactly what we're expecting, because the storm has been causing some problems already. Hurricane warnings in effect, tropical storm warnings in effect for our inland counties. The entire coast is going to be dealing with this, and what's a little bit of new information is that we now have some flood warnings in effect. That's the darker shade that you see right along the coast. That's this area, because you've been dealing with all of those heavy rain bands. Those rain bands going to continue. There you see them rolling on in, and each time one of these areas of darker red gets closer to the coast, you're going to have the winds really pick up. When this little band down here gets close to the coast, you can expect those winds to gust up over tropical storm force and probably approach hurricane force, since we're already starting to see some of the numbers up close to 50 to 60 miles an hour. We've had a couple of gusts at Wrightsville Beach to 55. There you see the storm, a little bit of a wider shot here just to give you an idea. If you look at the last couple of frames, now it could just be a wobble. I don't like to pay too much attention to wobbles in the eye, but it looks like there may be a little bit of an eastward jog, which would be some good news. That would keep it farther away from us. As far as the latest coordinates, 100 miles per hour, the maximum sustained winds, has weakened a bit from yesterday. Pressure is down to 951. It is going to move north at 13 and then start to take that east jog just a little bit to the east, which would be good news for us. There you see at 2 a.m., 90 miles per hour, so it is going to weaken to a Category 1 storm. At least that's the current forecast, but this is going to be probably about 50 miles away from us at its closest approach. Let me just get you a little distance indicator on there. Yeah, about 50 to 55 miles away at its closest approach, but that means the hurricane force winds could be lashing at us right around 2 tonight. John?
All right, Rob, thanks. Now, curfews are already in place for many towns across southeastern North Carolina. Let's take a look at the ones that have been reported to us so far. Wrightsville Beach has a curfew tonight that will start at 10 o'clock and go till 7 tomorrow morning. Surf City and Topsail Beach both have curfews as well. Holden Beach, the curfew begins at 8 tonight, and UNCW has a curfew that starts until 10 o'clock tonight until further notice. You can stay updated on all the curfews, the closings, the evacuations, the shelters that are open, including those that take pets. All of that information for you right now on our website, foxwilmington.com. Just look for those stories on our webpage. We have all the information as far as what you need to know if you don't feel safe at home, where you can go to be in a safe place if you need to take a pet, which shelters take pets, when you have to evacuate, what time the curfews are, all of it on our website, foxwilmington.com. Now, there are several evacuations across the viewing area tonight. Fox Wilmington's Michelle Lee joins us now live from the New Hanover County Government Complex. Michelle, you were talking earlier about the fact that flooding is now a major concern in New Hanover County. Is that still the top concern down there?
Flooding is absolutely one of the top concerns here. John, things keep changing by the minute here. A lot of different updates for you, whether it's debris damage, whether it's shelter information. Right now we know that there are no mandatory evacuations. We've been saying that throughout the day here, but people are encouraged to take shelter and find a safe place. A lot more people are taking shelter at this point. We're also seeing more power outages. We know that at least 6,000 people are without power at this time, and those numbers are expected to grow across the county. We've heard more reports of debris. We know that trees have fallen down on Greenville Loop Road, also on Oleander Drive. We've seen problems with wind, heavy wind at the Red Cross building in town. It is a reminder for people to find a safe place tonight. The county is seeing more people move into shelters. Just take a listen.
We do have 2 shelters open. As of just a few minutes ago, we had about 50 individuals at Dorothy B. Johnson, and at Noble School we had 16 humans, 5 dogs, and 3 cats. Okay. So our pet co-location shelter has been popular today.
And we should tell you now that number is around 150 people in shelters. So almost as soon as those numbers are released, they're practically outdated. A lot of things are changing. Let's get the very latest now from Ashley Kozakowski. She is live from Topsail Beach. Ashley.
Hey, Michelle. It's hard to hear out here with the rain and the wind and everything, and the ocean is really stirred up right now. I don't know if you can see behind me. Take a look. The waves are so high right now. They're about 10 to 12 feet by just our estimation. You can see there are actually people on the pier taking a walk there right now. We were talking earlier to some people who actually went out to the pier, and they said that they could actually just feel the pier wobbling when those big waves would hit. And you can just see the foam that has been stirred up by the ocean. We've seen a lot of debris floating through here as well. Now, a lot of folks are out here today. They're watching the ocean. They wanted to get a look. You can see, if you just pan over here, you can see the onlookers that are getting some pictures and getting a feel for what it's like out here, and they're taking pictures of us too as we take pictures of them. Now, obviously, there are some, there's a curfew here, as John mentioned, a curfew in Surf City that starts at 8 o'clock tonight. But in the meantime, you know, a lot of people are coming here to take pictures and just get a look at the awesomeness that is this storm as it arrives in our area. Reporting live tonight, I'm Ashley Kozakowski, Fox Wilmington, News at 10.
All right, Ashley, thanks very much. And again, no mandatory evacuations on the Topsail and Surf City beaches. We will continue our team coverage of Hurricane Irene on Fox Wilmington News at 6:30 after this. And again, we continue our coverage of Hurricane Irene tonight on Fox Wilmington News at 6:30. I'm John Evans. My co-anchor Michelle Lee at the New Hanover County Emergency Operations Center will join her in just a few minutes. You know, all of the beaches in the area are under voluntary evacuations. Oak Island and Caswell Beach, they had mandatory evacuations for visitors, declarations made yesterday. Days before orders were given here, mandatory evacuations came out in Hyde County, in Dare County, and in Carteret County as well. And Raycom News Network reporter Steve Onesorge is in the Atlantic Beach area, right where Hurricane Irene is set to come on shore in just a few hours. And Steve joins us live. Steve, conditions still deteriorating up there?
They continue to deteriorate. It's been a difficult day for a lot of people trying to pack up and get out of here as the bands were coming in and the rain was starting. We've also had a lot of heavy waves already, a lot of beach erosion. Just a few minutes ago, a couple of teenagers, it looked like, went out there swimming, in fact, and one of them told me he was being pulled about 100 feet in just a couple of seconds. Now the police officers have gone down there and told them he better get out and he better leave. The heavy rain bands started to come in about 2 o'clock. A lot of rain, so much rain that drains couldn't, the drains and the storm drains just couldn't take care of it. And then out on the beach erosion was starting, just cutting into the sand, and that's happening all along the coast. And of course, if the storm comes ashore here, it's going to be even worse. It all depends on whether or not it hits when there's high tide or low tide. People around here are hoping for low tide, although what they're really hoping is that the storm will just take a big right turn and go out into the ocean and not affect anybody, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they're just hoping that the storm does not intensify, that they can hunker down, they can weather this storm and try to get through this. And Atlantic Beach and the rest of this area of North Carolina and down Wilmington, Topsail, Wrightsville, all those places, they're looking forward to a good Labor Day weekend if this storm will just go another way. Reporting live at Atlantic Beach, Steve Onesorge, back to you.
Steve, we were just talking to Ashley Kozakowski in Topsail, and the waves were just about at the bottom of the pier. I see over your shoulder, they're getting pretty close up there in Atlantic Beach as well.
They're getting really close. They've come up to the dunes in a lot of places. In fact, this pier right now is closed. It is wavering from side to side. It's already doing that, and the meat of the storm is not even here yet, so you wonder about the future of this pier.
All right, Steve Onesorge reporting live for us from Atlantic Beach. Steve, thanks. We'll talk to you again as the coverage continues. And we're continuing now with some business owners in the area. They're saying the storm is already affecting their livelihoods. The owners of Casey's Buffet off Oleander Drive in Wilmington tell us, you know, they didn't see half of the customers they normally do today. They say they're going to try to open tomorrow, but if power goes out, they'll have generators on standby, and they will definitely be open, they say, on Sunday. Irene also slowing things down at Wilmington International Airport. U.S. Air, Delta have both canceled overnight flights tonight. Airport's operations director say the airlines don't want to keep planes here as the storm comes in. Most flights are canceled for tomorrow at ILM as well. And we're starting to see more pictures now at some of the damage Hurricane Irene is doing. This is from parts of New Hanover County now. The wind and rain picking up, several trees knocked down. Some businesses are closed. There's debris in the streets, and in this same piece of video you can say that the wind actually knocked down a billboard in one part of Wilmington earlier today. Crews going in, making sure. Here's that billboard that was knocked down. The pole literally almost snapped because of the winds. That shows you how gusty those winds can be. We're going to find out just how heavy those wind gusts are. First Alert meteorologist Rob Ellis tracking Irene, giving us the wind gusts, all the forecast. As you take a look at Wilmington from one of our traffic cameras. Our coverage continues after this.
This is meteorologist Rob Ellis with your First Alert weather forecast.
All right, getting a look at the eye of Irene as it moves generally to the north. Now you can see those rain bands have moved onshore. They've been moving onshore for about 6 hours now. The current advisory with this, maximum sustained winds with Irene 100 miles per hour. Moving north, we're starting to see maybe just a little bit of an east movement, and we'll get the latest advisory probably within the next hour and a half or so from the National Hurricane Center. Generally moving north, expected to weaken to a Category 1 hurricane, but it will still be a hurricane with the winds maybe at 90 miles an hour at its closest approach here, perhaps about 50 or 60 miles off the coast, but the hurricane force winds are expected to lash the coast, so we'll probably get some gusts up over 70, 80, maybe even 90 miles an hour for parts of Pender and Onslow County. Then it'll head off to the north and east, and they'll have to deal with it there into New England. A little bit of a different look here on the satellite. We're starting to lose the visible satellite, but I like to use the visible because you can get so much more detail. There is a little bit of a break here between this larger rain band, then there's a break, and then there's another rain band behind that. So we may have a period where things calm down, but for the most part, I think we're expecting this rain and gusty winds to continue at least through the next 6 hours or so. 50 to 75 mile an hour winds possible for New Hanover, 6 to 9 inches of rain. Of course, the waves along the beach we've already seen are going to cause a lot of problems. Gusts over 80 miles an hour for Pender and Onslow County. Onslow, you're going to be on the higher side of this, maybe even approaching 90 miles an hour. 7 to 10 inches of rain. Of course, that's going to be for the eastern side of Onslow County, and for Brunswick, because you're a little farther to the west, you're also facing south. 40 to 60 mile an hour winds possible. We're already seeing some of this. The gusts are probably going to be up around 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. A little bit farther inland, you're not going to see quite as much rain. We're already seeing that. Some of you may not even reach 2 inches, but I do think you'll see some rain and the winds up around tropical storm force. Winds are going to be mainly on the east side of the storm. That's where the wind impacts are because the storm is moving generally northeast. That's where the winds are strongest. The surge also on that side. That's where the higher surge is, but there's a ton of factors. We have this information on foxwilmington.com, by the way. Flooding impacts highest near the center of the storm, so the east part of North Carolina here really going to get inundated with as much as a foot of rain. We're going to be kind of on the gradient of that, and then the tornado threat should remain offshore, but we'll have to watch some of these outer rain bands to see if any of those become tornadic. Right front quadrant, though, should stay offshore. We expect that to roll on up the coast through Saturday morning, into Saturday midday, into Saturday afternoon. It is going to take that long for these rain bands to get out of here. We're talking about another 24 hours of having to deal with this before we see it exit the coast. We heard Steve Onosorge, I believe is his name, that was up there at the coastline talking about the tides. Here's the high tide at 6 tomorrow. That is when the storm is going to be at its closest approach. So that is going to be some big problems there, and the gusts could be up around hurricane force at some point. So that's going to back some water up into Onslow Bay, into the New River Inlet, and there's just some of the wind speeds that can be projected by the models. I want to send it over to Eric Davis. He has some actual information, some data that's been coming into us. Eric, what are you seeing?
We're seeing a lot of rain right now, particularly in Brunswick County. You're going to get hit first, and you're also going to see things that let up probably first before all is said and done, but some tremendous amounts of rain. Let's go ahead and take a look at the First Alert Digital Doppler. These yellow areas, particularly just to the south of Highway 17, south of the Bolivia area, 3 to 5 inches of rain so far, and the rain is still coming down. So it's not hard to imagine that we're going to see some isolated totals in the 9 to 10 inch range. We may even have to bump up some of the rainfall forecasts for Brunswick County. Winds so far, 40 mile per hour winds at Bald Head Island, but we've we've probably seen some 40 and 50 mile per hour gusts already, easily tropical storm force gusts, with some of these rain squalls moving across the area. And Wrightsville Beach continues to see the highest winds of 56 mile per hour wind gusts in the last hour at Wrightsville Beach. And as we move up into Sneads Ferry and along Topsail Beach, the wind's not quite as strong there, but don't let your guard down. The winds are going to be picking up. You're further from the center of the storm at this point, and same thing for the folks up in Onslow County as well. You can see the heavy rain bands moving into the area, and it continues to come down right now, particularly along the coast, Rob. We're going to continue to see those rain bands moving in the next couple of hours, and those rain squalls may start to contain 50 and 60 mile per hour winds, maybe even stronger than that as we head through the evening.
Yeah, I think we'll be dealing with this at least another 24 hours. The 7-day forecast does have it in there for all day Saturday. By Sunday, we should begin to clear things out with a lot more sunshine, and the temperatures will warm back up. We have more Hurricane Irene coverage when Fox Wilmington News at 6:30 continues.
All right, welcome back. We are live now at the Emergency Operations Center in New Hanover County. I want to give you a quick update from what we know. We are, of course, hearing more reports of outages and downed trees. And at this last check, we heard that there were about 6,000 people without power, but we're hearing that may have actually jumped up to 8,000 people at this time. We're also hearing that about 150 people are in shelters, but we're hearing that one of the shelters may be maxed out as well. And all of those numbers are expected to grow over now. We also know that a lot of the beaches are, the bridges are closed. Holden Beach Bridge closed at 6 o'clock tonight. Again, no mandatory evacuations here, but people in this room are saying, please use your common sense, find a safe place, and a lot of people are listening to those warnings. We're hearing that a lot more people are going to shelters, and they're also bringing their pets with them as well, John.
All right, Michelle, thanks very much. We're hearing from some folks on Facebook that the wind is really picking up. You heard Eric talk earlier about 50-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're hearing it from someone who's in Wrightsville Beach, who's on Bamboozer with us. It is definitely picking up in Wrightsville Beach, and our coverage of Hurricane Irene will continue after this.
All right, just another quick update for you guys. Many changes even from the last break. We know that 282 people approximately are in shelters in New Hanover County. Noble has about 63 spaces left, and that is the only shelter that you can bring pets. Also, Dorothy B. Johnson has about 155 spaces open, and we know that Progress Energy now only about 3,000 power outages, so that's half of what we were reporting just a couple of minutes ago. But Progress Energy again is saying to expect not to have power at least until Sunday, guys.
All right, Michelle Lee live at the New Hanover County Emergency Operations Center. Got to show you this piece of video. Michelle, we'll talk to you later. Take a look. This is an interesting video out of South Carolina. This is what you don't want to do. Our sister station caught video of a surfer with his board in hand jumping off a crowded pier and into the waves churned up by Irene. Needless to say, authorities say, don't do this. They're not getting the kind of waves. Look at that. They're not getting the kind of waves we are. But still, look at this is Isle of Palms. This is what down around the Charleston area of South Carolina, right?
Yeah, it is.
So they're still even churning up the surf down that way. This is something you do not want to do, especially around here right now.
No, and you know those. You never know what could be down there. That's churning up a lot of things that are going on.
Debris we saw earlier on the beach when Ashley was going live.
Yeah, that's just. It's not a smart idea.
No.
I do. You know, a lot of people have been saying, "Hey, the winds are really picking up." Let me show you the radar because I want to
see it right over your shoulder.
Yeah, there it is, and especially, and I'm going to step over to the radar just to kind of illustrate a couple of things here. The heavy rain is really coming down from Oak Island, the east part of Oak Island, all the way up into coastal New Hanover County. Most of Carolina Beach, Wrightsville Beach, Monkey Junction, dealing with some heavy rain. Also, a couple of things to note here. If you notice this little area of red that's just off the coast, notice how it's kind of bumpy and just, it looks really kind of torn and ragged. When that comes ashore, we are going to see some really gusty winds, especially along the New Hanover County coastline. Again, the maximum sustained winds with Hurricane Irene have dropped from yesterday. There you see a wider view of the storm, 100 mile per hour, making landfall as a Category 1.
And that looks even like Brunswick County beaches might catch some of that as it starts to wrap around. So none of our beaches are safe at this hour.
Not
We're
at
going
this
to start
point.
seeing a lot of those gustier winds in the next 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, we've got a good long 6 to 10 hours ahead of us tonight.
Okay, and we're going to be with you the whole way right here on the air and online at foxwilmington.com. We'll see you updates throughout the night.